Welcome back to Diagnostic Guru. I'm your host, Dr. Lesley Northrop. On this podcast, we talk about the real stories behind women changing the game in science and medicine, the good, the bad, and the ugly, of navigating a career in biotech, fintech, healthcare, and executive leadership. But today, we're shifting our focus from the senior leadership and C-suite to the highest level of influence in our industry, the boardroom. Our next episodes are a two-part series spotlighting Women in Bio Board Ready Program. Before we dive into our special series, I want to talk about an organization that has national chapters across the United States, Women in Bio, or WIB. If you aren't familiar with WIB, it's a national nonprofit with a massive mission, promoting careers, leadership, and entrepreneurship for women across the life sciences. They operate on the philosophy of women helping women. Kind of sound familiar? Whether you're a grad student just starting out or a seasoned executive, WIB provides the mentorship, the networking, and most importantly, the community that ensures we aren't walking this path alone. But as many of us know, as you climb higher, the room starts to get a little bit smaller. And that brings us to one of their most impactful initiatives. In 2016, WIB recognized a massive gap. While women are excelling in executive roles, they still hit by a glass ceiling when it came to corporate board seats. To fix that, they created the Board Ready Program, coming on its 10-year anniversary. This isn't just a networking group, it's an intensive, award-winning executive development platform. It's designated to take exceptionally qualified women and give them the specific tools they need to be effective directors. We're talking about deep dives into board governance, financial strategy, crisis management, and investor relations. Since its inception, the program has produced over 200 alumni who have secured more than 150 board placements globally. It is literally changing the face of leadership in the life sciences. Now, this hits home for me. I'm incredibly proud to share that I was a member of the 2025 Board Ready cohort. It was a masterclass. It was also a reminder of the good, the bad, and the ugly of high-level leadership. It's hard work, the selection process is grueling, and the responsibility of a director is immense. But seeing the caliber of women in my cohort, the brilliance, the resilience, and the sheer expertise reminded me why this work is so vital. Because this program is so transformative, I wanted to bring that energy to you, to all of my DG listeners. Over the next 2 episodes, we are doing something special. I'm sitting down with 8 incredible members of the Board Ready program, as well as the former CEO. These are women who are at the top of their game in biotech, pharma, legal, AI, and diagnostics, just to name a few. We're going to talk about their good, bad, and ugly, and discover what their superpower is. Well, today we're going to kick off an amazing Diagnostic Guru episode. It's going to be a compilation of my fellow Women in Bio Board Ready Program cohort 2025. But in order to kick it off on the right footing, we're meeting with the CEO of Women in Bio who built and led this program, Gina Ford. Gina, thank you so much for coming today. It's such an honor to have you here.
Lesley, it's a delight. I'm so happy that you put this together, and I think it's a real testament to the whole cohort and the energy that they brought to the education.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, you had a committee and you selected this cohort. What a group of dynamic women. I've really met some women in this community that I was like, wow, they just blew me away. I'm like, what have I done with my life? But, the incredible thing about it is I think we need to really talk about the challenges that we have here as women leaders. And so that's why I think it's important to bring this group together. So could you tell me recently, in the last couple of years, you've become the CEO of Women in Bio. And how does the Women's Board Ready program serve as a crucial guide for executives seeking to become strong board candidates, especially with an already underserved area for women's initiatives?
Sure. You just touched on the selection process, and the title of the program being Boardroom Ready. And that is the criteria really for the women that we select for this program. They are women who are prepared, knowledgeable, wise, have the chops to sit on a board. What we have found out over the years, 9 years in total now, next year will be our 10th year, is they may have all of those operating skills, all that wisdom. It's what goes on in the boardroom and what goes on behind the boardroom that we really try to shape so that that first experience, the second experience, the third experience, you understand the dynamic that you're walking into. So that's really the standard that we try to set is this isn't to teach you about what it is to be a board member. It's to take people who are prepared to be a board member and make you effective on day one in the boardroom, behind the boardroom, on the calls before the board meeting.
Yeah, I can definitely confirm that. I really was impressed with the program, in that we already have the skill set, right? It's preparing us for what that environment is like, and also meeting many women who have come through the 9-year program, and a lot of them are sitting on multiple board seats, which
Right.
gives me lots of hope for my future as well as other women on the board um, group. So from that, from your former experiences, you are a strong executive leader. You've predominantly worked in pharma and biotech as a chief commercial officer, a head of BD and corporate, corporate strategy. So you bring a really breadth of experience, to the table. Can you talk a little bit about maybe from your former experience or maybe the current issues that you're dealing with today as CEO of Women in Bio, on your one good, your one bad, and your one ugly?
Yeah, I think I can wrap it all up as a career and really landing at Women in Bio as now the chief executive officer. Um, in the last 5 years, it has really built momentum around women and women leadership and C-suite women and really trying to bend that curve of understanding diverse voices at the table, board table, committee table, whatever it may be. I really, when I took the job in 2023, was really on that high. Like we have the opportunity to really just grow our organization because we have taken such great steps in women leadership. Whew, whew. And then 2025 struck.
Mm.
We have discussed this, and my board doesn't care. Discuss this at the board level, discuss this at the staff level with our chapters. Do we need to change our name?
It's crazy.
It's crazy. The resounding answer is no. We are Women in Bio. That is who we are. That is who we're going to be. Um, have we struggled in keeping together some sponsors that have been 9-year sponsors, 10-year sponsors? Yes. But the way I explain that to people is it's not their fault. We
Yeah.
still have that same advocate, that same person who wants to be affiliated with WIB, but they have a letter from somebody telling their organization that they cannot contribute financially to organizations that start with women, as well as many other diverse organizations that they are prohibited from contributing to financially. The interesting part of that is there are other organizations that are seeking out organizations like Women in Bio that want
Mm.
to attach their logo with our logo. Women in Bio with those logos, Women in Bio with those companies, because they want the world to know
Yeah.
that they are still very supportive of these initiatives. They have these initiatives internally and they're not changing. So financially, it's ugly. It's
Yeah.
ugly. Because we're starting small with these people to, dip their toe in and experience what Women in Bio is really like after, losing some very large sponsors. But it, I think it's a testament to how ugly it has made us think
Hmm.
about, our tax bracket is, as a nonprofit, that's our tax status. We are a corporation. We have staff, we have programs, we have operating expenses. So to think about that as, oh my gosh, what do we do to keep operating is really the very ugly side of it. Is really the
Yeah.
very ugly side of it. And when we turn it to really what it is we're trying to achieve in our mission and focus on our mission, we are finding people. We are finding people that want to affiliate with that. So we've just all tried to keep our eye on the ball and not take shortcuts
Mm,
that might lead to a contribution, but really stay true to who we are, and stay women in bio.
love it. I love the authentic self. I can't, I mean, I couldn't even think of what you would change the name to, I mean, there's a purpose of it, and it's
Right.
because of where we've been put in society. And while I was listening to you talk, it made me think of like you're building a new garden, like new seeds, right, are coming in, these new sponsors. Okay, maybe,
Right.
they're not giving as much as you need, so you need multiple seeds in your garden. But
Right.
it could bring, new change, maybe some new positive outlooks. It's just that initial, like, you have the name woman in your company.
Right.
And we
Right.
can't fund you. I can imagine getting a letter like that. I would like put it on a dartboard, throw darts at it probably
There's
every
been
day.
there's been some frustration issue. You stated it really well. And when I was trying to work with our board and thinking about this, and trust me, I did. I was like, we got to make these shortcuts. Like, what words can we just change on our website?
Yeah.
And what it really forced us all to do is just think about those relationships, those long-term relationships that we have, they'll be back. So
Hmm.
if we are seeding this new garden with new people who are want to associate with our mission, we potentially have the opportunity to double our revenue in 3.5, 3 years.
I love the glass half full thinking on that one. That's beautiful. Yeah. And, I think it just shows that you're strong in the end, and you're not going to back down for the mission and vision of what Women in Bio stands for. It's a nonprofit, right? Promoting
Right.
diversity, inclusion for all women in the
That's
life
right.
sciences.
That's right. That's
So
right.
let's not forget that. Well, going through instances like this, I know we all have our own superpower. What do you think yours is, or do you know what your superpower is?
I hate to ask for help. I really do. You probably don't want this on your podcast, but I am a born and bred dirt in their fingernails Texan, and we just hate to ask for help. So what I've learned that if I'm not going to ask for help, I better have really good intuition. I better have
Mhm.
really strong tactile senses, intuition for where this decision I'm going to make or where this thing needs to go because I don't ask for help. So it has to do with intuition, I think.
Mm.
Really, really having good sound judgment in myself, and eventually saying, "Hey, this is what I think about. I'm going to do. What do you think about it?" I do tend generally cave and go ask a few people what they think about what I'm planning to do.
Well, I think that's a good thing that you're not a solo, riding off in the sunset on your horse. You're actually bringing the team along. So intuition, that's a tough one. I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds like you had intuition with this recent change, that headwinds that came your way with the, not having women in the company name.
I
To
I
be
think
fun.
that I think that's what senior women learn along the way is
Yeah.
there's a fear a little bit of not wanting to ask for help or not wanting to ask questions. As you get to that senior leadership area, you have to lean on people. You have to understand what teams contribute, what supervisors, what stakeholders contribute. Um, and I think wisdom has helped me a lot. But yeah, intuition is still I lean on a lot as my superpower.
I would love to have seen you 20 years ago. You were probably wild, wild west, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for coming today. And, I'm really excited about this episode when we get it all together. And it's been an amazing journey for me to be a part of this Board Ready program. And I've learned a lot. And I also feel like I brought a lot too to the group. So it was a good combination, very smart intellectual program. And I cannot wait to celebrate the 10th year.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me, and good luck with the rest of the people you're talking to. We'll listen in.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gina.
All right. Thanks, Lesley.
Today, I'm welcoming another Board Ready program from the Women in Bio class of 2025, Ivana Mikic. She is the CEO and co-founder of two companies, Serpida and Define. Welcome today, Ivana.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you, especially being a CEO and a co-founder of two companies. I'm sure you have a lot of experiences to share. Could you tell us what is your one good, one bad, and ugly to date in your career?
The good for me is the excitement and inspiration that I get of working with smart, curious people. And that energy and solving problems together is what always keeps me excited.
Oh, I love that.
Um, the bad is the guilt I feel as the mother,
Mm,
always. Especially during the pandemic, I feel that doing my job well meant not always being as present for my kids as I wish.
yeah. You feel like you're one half another and another half, but it's never a full deck, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I sometimes kind of rewind and remember moments where, I had to take care of something and I wasn't there for them, so that's definitely the big downside.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate though all of your hard work and you're
I
raising the
hope
next
so.
generation of leaders. So
Now they're teenagers, so it's hard to tell that they appreciate anything. Um, the ugly, I was thinking about this, the one that sticks out is kind of related to that. Weeks after I had my second daughter, a person who was my mentor and a champion asked me if I was still serious about my career.
Mhm.
And and I was so eager to persuade him that I was. And I always felt bad that I kind of played along and just started talking about how I couldn't imagine staying at home and things
Mhm.
like that, where the truth is much more nuanced, right?
Yeah.
I wished I could afford to take 6 months off at that time, and I couldn't, right? But my instinct was just to kind of rush to explain and justify my, commitment. So that was definitely one
That
of
it makes
the
you
things.
feel guilty. Like you felt guilty in that instant for a reason of why you were going to pause at work and care for your baby.
And
Baby.
I didn't really, I only took like 12 weeks, right?
Wow. Wow. That's a misfortunate. Did that happen here in the US? I would presume so. Yeah. Because in other countries,
Exactly.
you get an entire year and your job is there for you when you get back, right?
Yes, 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 exactly. Yeah.
We need to do better by women leaders and in that situation. I too felt guilty taking time off the first one. I sacrificed, yeah, and the second one I was like, I can't. Like I just need to. So I did actually check out, and I'm glad I did. But it definitely made me feel like I wasn't showing up for my job. So I can't
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah. You feel guilty either way.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's never a perfect science.
Yeah.
So what would you say your superpower is to date?
Um, I mean, I think maybe one is my ability to recognize and make connections at work when, I work in the intersection of biology and AI, and I speak both languages, and I have uh, um, and that's where my new company is coming from, is an idea that came from seeing something my AI team developed and realizing that it can solve a problem that I think is very important. But the ability to recognize and make these connections is something that I think I do well. Yeah,
Wonderful. It's like a neural network.
it is.
Able to, right? Especially if you're an AI that you're able to do with humans, not just with supercomputers.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining today, and I'm excited to share your story with the rest of the
Good
women.
to see you again, Lesley.
Yeah, you too. Today, I'm with another member of the Women in Bio Board Ready Program class of 2025, Alicia Palladino. Welcome, Alicia, to Diagnostic Guru.
Thanks for having
Alicia
me.
is currently a partner at Goodwin and is a biomedical science IP attorney. So she has a very unique background and is one of the only attorneys in the program for this year of the Board Ready class. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, as you know, I have two questions for you. My first question is, what is your one good, your one bad, and your one ugly today in your career?
So I guess when I was thinking of those questions, I was thinking of them as like, maybe because I have two careers, I think of it as like a continuum of my career. So I would say that the good is just my ability to continue in the face of some adversity, in the sense that, I did change careers. So I've always been willing to jump in and be a team player and, do whatever was asked of me. And I think that sometimes allows you a seat at the table that you didn't expect. So when you show people that you can take criticism and you can, learn from it, that is definitely a characteristic that has assisted me and has been pointed out as a characteristic it is beneficial. And so I've tried to, remind myself of that during, critical conversations. That's the only way to learn, is to really, take the criticisms, make changes, and just keep moving forward. So I would say that's the good part of my career, is that not letting those things kind of knock me down. The bad, I would say, is probably what a lot of women have and maybe don't even want to admit it, but I'm willing to, is the imposter syndrome that kind of is always there. I do think of it as this scary monster, like the monster under the bed that's kind of behind me on my shoulder at times. And by visualizing it that way, it's helpful to be like, hey, just get away. I don't need you right now, and I don't need to hear your voice. But it's taken a long time to get to a place where I could acknowledge that that's a thing that I struggle with, that it's something that doesn't go away. And it's something that not everyone understands. I think it depends on where you came from. So in my career, I was a first generation college student. And so I didn't really have any sense as to what it was like to be a professional. And so just that in and of itself, I'll never forget the first time I was part of the honors program at college, and they took us to a restaurant. And it was the first time I'd seen so many utensils around a plate in my life. And right there is like, how am I here? I don't even know a fork, spoon, knife. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? This is so complicated, and we're just eating dinner. It just kind of started there with, do I belong in this room, right? With all of these people who are so smart, and getting a PhD and being in academia, you're with smart people all the time. And so getting comfortable there with, I was the expert in a particular field. So I felt more comfortable there. When I transitioned to the law, it has been a harder struggle because you're with smart people all of the time, and case law is always changing. So trying to be up on what's happening and be in the biotech space is just, being in a tornado. So that, you're all kind of feeling as though, am I really good enough? Do I really know everything that's going on and giving the right advice? So that has been a struggle. You asked about the ugly.
Yeah.
I would say the ugly part of my career was the transition from being a research scientist in academia to big corporate law. I mean, the first step of going to law school was unbelievable, because My kids were little. My
Oh,
daughter was a
wow.
year and a half when I started, and I worked part-time, and I would get up at 4 in the morning so that I
Wow.
could take the train downtown so that I could read the cases before class started at 8, because otherwise I didn't get anything done. And if I didn't do it that way, then I didn't get home for dinner.
Yeah.
Right. So
Oh,
and my husband was fabulous and always making sure that they waited till
yeah.
whatever time it was. With little kids, that's really hard. So just
Yeah.
making it through those 3 years was a lot. And it did give me some confidence that if I could make it through that and pass the bar, which was,
I can't imagine.
I will never, and I said if it didn't pass, I was changing careers again because there's no way I was ever going to take that test again. When you hear people who've taken it more than once because
Oh, I
of
know.
different states, and it's
Why?
overwhelming. Yeah. Yes. Why? Find something else. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that was the low, not, I don't want to say lowest in the sense that I was mentally in the lowest state, but lowest
Hmm.
in the sense of just so much change and unfamiliarity with how I should be acting, because as you can
Yeah.
imagine,
It's a
academia,
different environment. It's a different
such,
personality, nomenclature, you name it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, the environment was just so different, right? It was such a relaxed, open-minded environment in academia, and then corporate law is very, I mean, everyone's there to make money. That just wasn't, I was always begging for money to do my
Yeah.
job, right? I wanted to do it. And then you go to a place where everyone's trying to make as much money as they can. And so it's a different philosophy. I don't know that I've gotten to that place of feeling that that's my goal. I
Yeah.
still do have the helping the next generation, whether that's, next generation of women in their career or next generation of startups that are looking for how they can break into the space without money. And being an IP attorney, that's the place that their assets lie. It's the most important part of their company, but yet they
Hmm.
don't really have the experience or the money to get the right advice and guidance. So I've put a big focus in my career now as to finding ways to help that
Oh,
community.
how nice. That's very
Yeah.
grassroots and unheard of. I mean, I love that.
Yeah. I do think that, it's free advice that comes from
Yeah.
someone who knows what they're talking about. Because oftentimes what I've learned is the CEOs and these founders are getting advice from everyone, and they're getting
Hmm.
advice from people, and it's not their expertise, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's not fair for them not to really be dealing with the right guidance from the right people. Not that I can only give guidance on the IP side of things, but I think it's important that they have some support. And so I've really started that in the Pittsburgh space with the University of Pittsburgh and CMU,
Oh,
um,
cool. So it's
because
almost like you've gone back to your roots. Like that's very academic, like a feeling, right?
Mhm.
Bringing the more higher corporate, intense experience, but the knowledge and bring it to a more exciting. And I'm not saying that corporate is, it can be in different ways, but you know what I'm saying. Everyone's
Yeah.
like fresh and ready to like take on the world, in a different way, I guess I
Yes.
would say.
Yeah. And I do feel like I'm a scientist at heart. That hasn't
Yeah,
changed. I
yeah,
am.
yeah.
And that's where I'm
That's
most
cool.
comfortable. Yeah.
That's so cool. And thank you for sharing the imposter syndrome thing because that's something for me. It came up a few years ago. I was like, what is imposter syndrome? I don't even know what that means. And then all of a sudden it hit me one day. I had an experience. I was like, oh, I get
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And
like,
there's some people that don't believe in it. They just think
yeah,
that's not a
oh,
real
it's
thing.
there. It's
It's
yeah, I think it's always been there. We just like humans, we always put a terminology to it, right? Or a
yes.
word to it. So
Mhm. Yeah.
interesting. So through this journey, what would you say your superpower is?
Definitely my superpower is resilience.
Ah,
Um, it's I don't let things tear me down to the point where I give up.
yeah.
Even sometimes where I think probably I should um, change paths. But I think I've always been a very hard worker, and I've relied on that as, I don't need to be the smartest person in the room, but I'm definitely going to be the hardest worker, the best team player, and give what I have. And I'm, that, that's gotten me pretty far. So I think it's
Yeah,
not.
I'd say so. I mean, changing careers, being a PhD scientist to a lawyer are two very hard feats to climb. And then, of course, we talked about earlier, your personal life. I mean, you're an athlete and doing Spartan races. That's resilience right there too, not giving up. So it's full circle.
It is. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I love that superpower. Wear it proudly. And thank you so much for sharing your personal journey with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Welcome today. We have another member of our Women in Bio Board Ready program, a class member of the class of 2025, Dr. Stephanie Astro, who is currently the Chief Scientific Officer at Chimeric Therapeutics. Thanks, Stephanie, for coming today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Lesley.
Well, as you know, we have a rapid fire 2 questions for you. So, which is the theme of this podcast. Could you share with the audience, especially coming from a strong science background as well as business background, what is your one good, one bad, and one ugly?
Sure. So I managed to wrap these all into one story, and it is the story of my first job outside of academia, where I was hired on to run a lab for one of the first companies that offered immunohistochemistry testing services commercially to hospitals and pathologists, and started a new division where that service was being offered to pharma and biotech companies. And I loved the job. I was working, managing the lab, and did well and got promoted to be director of the division and had P&L responsibility. And it was super exciting for me. When the first financial statements came my way, I couldn't make heads or tails of them. They were really inscrutable, and there were oddball things like fleet rental and health insurance that seemed really out of whack to the number of people that reported to me. And I got in touch with the headquarters of the company back in New York and said, help me out here. And they said they use these terms like accrual and allocation and
non-science terms.
I really wanted to do well, and I remember saying to my husband, "This finance stuff is really complicated. I'm going to go back to school and get an MBA." Wow. So I was accepted into the PKE program at Pepperdine. It's Presidential Key Executive Program for folks that are in their career, and it's a part-time program. And I was glad to join on. And the bad, I guess, was it was really challenging to manage. I was the only person in the program who had a full-time job, 2 little kids, and was in school.
Wow.
And it was just so much work. And I remember thinking, I really want to quit, but had also asked my kids or told them that I was, mommy's going back to school and I really need your help. And I just couldn't quit. I couldn't be a quitter in front of my girls. So, so the good was that I became incredibly efficient. I learned all of these time management skills that serve me to this day. I am never open an email until I'm prepared to deal with it, and not go back and reread and redo, and other skills that make me, have this crazy efficiency, which is awesome. So, the bad was not having the time. The good was figuring out the time. The ugly was that the company wound up getting a new CFO, and he, as part of his diligence, started digging into the finance. It didn't make sense to him either. It turned out the company was keeping 2 sets of books.
Wow.
And they defrauding shareholders. The CEO wound up in a federal penitentiary.
Wow.
My boss, the chief operating officer, also went to prison. It was crazy. So
Wow.
it wasn't that finance was super complicated. It was that they were playing some kind of shell game with their finances.
But wow, that's incredible because here you're doubting yourself coming from the science side, but you wanted to learn. So through the ugly, the good came out, as you said, and you also learned more about finance than you probably planned, right? It's a whole different language, right? Every subject has their own language.
Yes, yes. And you can, in all fields, you can use confusing jargon to,
Yeah.
mesmerize and misdirect people. But in fact, a lot of basic words can substitute for those words, and it's not always necessarily complicated. So,
the credibility because you went to school and it also separated you out from the bad people who are breaking the law. That probably was helpful as well.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know that I ever got a different position because I had the MBA, but I think people looked at it favorably. And, certainly that I have this really strong interest in business and I feel grounded. I love academic learning. So it was a good way to, come up to speed. And as I am, looking for a board seat, I feel like I have the capabilities to do something like be on an audit committee because I do understand finance. So I'm really glad that I stuck it out. And it was a very interesting phase of life.
Yeah, good for you. Perseverance for sure on that one. But I love you're wearing multiple hats, CEO of your family, going to school, and you really gave your daughters a true role model with that
Thank you.
experience, which is more priceless, right, than the actual MBA.
Yeah, and it teaches you that you can do things beyond what what you think, and that's a great feeling.
No, it is. It is. So, with that, what is your superpower?
Well, my non-business superpower, just for fun, is I have parking karma, which means I get the Doris Day spot whenever I decide I want to park. A space just magically opens up for me. But for real, I think that I have a ability to explain technically complex things to the informed generalist, shall we say. So break down things that are complicated in ways that make everybody at the same, playing field level for deep scientific discussions. And I really love doing that. And I think it serves me well. And I think other people really appreciate it too.
It's incredibly helpful in our industry, especially being in the C-suite level, to be able to talk out of both sides of your mouth, so to speak. And I think I'm sure you do too, people feel very not threatened, but a little more timid, I would say, when you get to the clinical science side. So the mere fact that you're able to translate, that's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, I think that as we were saying before, you can use big words or jargon words that alienate people, but if you can break that down, most people can come on board to something really, pretty technically complex. Like I'm in the cell therapy field and they're, explaining what a chimeric antigen receptor T cell is. It's not that hard to grasp if you break it down and use language that is shared amongst folks. So,
yeah, I'm sure just you saying a chimeric T cell receptor, everyone's like, what? Blah, 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 blah.
yeah. So, one of the analogies people make is we engineer cells and we put a GPS in them so that they go and find the cancer and kill it.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And it helps too, I feel like, as a scientist, to think about things differently than how we're schooled or, we're trained through our years of education.
Yes. And I think that's one of the really fun things about business is being able to think about the science in a different way, in a not necessarily analytic way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I love the story and your superpower. And maybe you need to move to New York. I need your superpower for parking.
Yeah, you bet. Well, thanks, Lesley. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this special episode of Diagnostic Guru. If you're an executive woman in the life sciences looking to make the next leap, I cannot recommend the Women in Bio Board Ready program enough. You can find more information at womeninbio.org. And as always, for more stories on the reality of science and leadership, visit us at diagnostic-guru.com. I'm Dr. Lesley Northrop. We'll see you next time.